Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, and today we're going to take a look at the rankings for Week 6 in the NFL for the wide receivers. That's right, these are the guys that butter your bread when it comes to fantasy, and I love a good carb, that's for sure. Scott Bogman's with us today. He likes carbs as well. The Welsh.
Obviously.
The Welsh. Where do you stand with carbs? I know you're a kind of a vegetarian fella. But
you see my face. Let me see. What do I stand with carbs?
They're pretty good. Yeah, that's a good spot.
Lots of jiggles. I'm good with carbs as well. So these are very pseudo good fat jokes.
There we go. We're getting all the bread today, and we're going to hopefully help you set all of your lineups and make good decisions. That was what we're trying to do here. And of course, these are the rankings over at fantasypros.com/rankings, the expert consensus. We're going to run through the top guys, and of course, the top guys are the ones you're starting no matter what. We will give us some opinions on them. We're also going to talk about some highlighted guys that you might want to get in or out of your lineups, or maybe consider how you want to build lineups around them because of potential matchups or circumstances around them. So, gentlemen, let's kick things off here with the cream of the crop, who's going to be missing Justin Jefferson for the next few weeks. Gross, terrible, very sad, no good. Makes me want to eat a lot more carbs in depression. That's what it makes me want to do. But Tyreek Hill's at the top, A+, along with Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, and Devontae Adams, all A+ this week in the rankings. Then you have A.J. Brown against the Jets, Keenan Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Moore, who has been fantastic the last 2 weeks. After DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, who bounced back last week with a touchdown, back and healthy. He's also an A receiver this week. Chris Olave is an A. So is DK Metcalf. Devonta Smith starts that A- tier with Calvin Ridley, Michael Pittman Jr., Deebo Samuel, Mike Evans, Amari Cooper starts our B+ tier. Then you have at 21, Christian Kirk and Adam Thielen at 22. So from A+ to B+, 22 players who all should absolutely be in your lineups. The Welsh, let's start with you here. Who stands out for better or worse to you in this group of must starts at wide receiver?
Well, I don't want to fall too much into like just the last 2 weeks, but DJ Moore, I feel like there's always these lay down standpoints of like, oh, we're going to have, a guy that gets 200 yards and then is going to come back down. But like, I look at DJ Moore up against this Vikings team, and I just don't know how he's not going to go off again outside of Justin Fields completely falling apart. The Vikings are giving up the third most fantasy points in the NFL to wide receivers, top 5 in yards given up as well, over 1,006 receiving touchdowns. DJ Moore is somebody that I've got inside my top 10. What did you say he was? 10 on the list here?
Yes. And
does that sound right?
Just to Welsh's point here, the last 2 weeks he scored 76 full PPR points in the last 2 weeks. He was wide receiver 5 and wide receiver 2 last week. That's pretty good, Welsh, last time I checked.
It's absurd. It's an absurd number. I've got him inside the top 10. That's my guy. I totally didn't realize I just stole this from Bogman. We love him so much. I could give you my guy. Would you like my player that you could talk about?
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'll find another player. Well, I wish you would have talked about your player. That would have been nice. But you talk about my guy here.
I didn't realize I was talking about your guy. I was just looking. I was like, my guy.
I'm not your guy, buddy.
Outside the top 10. Guy. Well, I'm your friend, pal. So, and DJ Moore is as well. Him being outside the top 10 right now, the only reason behind it has got to be the fear that defense or that offense completely falls apart. But this is against the Vikings, and they're going to be throwing the ball, and he's going to get massive volume.
Well, it's the Vikings who are terrible, and you also have problems at the running back position for the Bears this week with potentially 2 guys down. So just the volume is going to be insanely high for him. Let me ask you this, Welsh. How about, would you rather go with DJ Moore against this Vikings defense, or would you rather go with A.J. Brown, but maybe getting sauced this week against the Jets?
I have them next to each other right now.
Me too.
I move
but
A.J.
who do you
Brown
have ahead?
I have A.J. Brown, but that might move once we get to game time. I moved Brown all the way down to 8, and I think on the consensus, where is he right now? He is 7. I kind of want to move DJ Moore above. You know what? I'm doing it right now.
Just to show you guys whose guy it is, I had DJ Moore ahead of AJ Brown this whole time. So no big deal. Just to let you guys know.
You
whole
win.
time. Yes.
Winner.
Well, look, I mean, I think that AJ Brown can still be successful against Sauce Gardner. Elite wide receivers are elite for a reason. Just, and Sauce is not taking anything away from Sauce. He's tremendous at his job. But
just throw it to Devontae or Dallas Goedert.
Right.
You have other options in Philly
there, whereas DJ Moore is clearly
Chicago.
the guy. guy. And as Bogman mentioned too, the uncertainty with the running back situation, which we covered on the running back version of this show on YouTube. You can go check out all the tiers over on our YouTube channel on that one. We had big discussions about Roschon Johnson, big discussions about Deontay Foreman. So check that out as well as more news continues to develop. So Boggs, was there anybody else you wanted to highlight real quick before the DJ Moore got stolen away from you?
Want to guess who my other guy was?
Now, again, it's not all about
Brandon
you.
Ayuk.
I don't understand why you're going back to
Brandon Ayuk.
Wasn't Brandon Ayuk.
Wow, it wasn't a Niner?
Michael Pittman. Just want to throw it.
It wasn't
Michael
Jerome
Pittman
Ford.
It was
I know that.
It was Michael Pittman, but go ahead.
No, I mean, that DJ Moore was the guy I wanted to talk about here.
All right.
I mean, the rest of them, look, they're all guys that you start. You start all these guys.
Of course. All right, let's get to the rest of the ranks here that might be a little bit more debatable because those guys certainly are not. Before we do, let's take a quick break in the action because it's that time of year, everybody. It's fall, it's football, it's time for backyard gatherings, it's time for tailgating, and it's time for ice cold Miller Lite. The only thing better than spending fall outside with friends is spending fall with friends and a nice cold beer. A Miller Lite is only 96 calories and it tastes like beer. That's right, it's perfectly brewed for everything that fall has to offer. I love the cold Miller Lite on a cool, crisp evening with a nice fire pit going. You put the pop-up screen on for those college football games on Saturday night, or maybe a little Sunday night football and a nice cold Miller Lite. Sounds pretty good to me. If it sounds good to you, visit MillerLite.com/FantasyPros. Again, that's MillerLite.com/FantasyPros, or you can pretty much get your Miller Lite beer anywhere. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories, just 3.2 carbs in every 12-ounce can or bottle. Put a nice cold Miller Lite in your hands this fall. Gentlemen, let's talk about the guys in the B tier here. Marquise Hollywood Brown coming off another good game here for the Arizona Cardinals. Then Chris Godwin coming off a bye, a little bit more usage as the Mike Evans health has been a little bit more questionable recently. Nico Collins, Zay Flowers needs to hold on to the football. Come on, Zay. You're my boy. Don't disappoint Uncle Joe. Terry McLaurin, Garrett Wilson, and Jordan Addison. I think the guy we have to start with is definitely Jordan Addison, because this is a player now where expectations are going to be much higher. This is an opportunity for a guy with high draft stock to start to show whether or not he was truly worth it. Is he ready at this stage in his career to be an alpha dog and step into the shoes, even though they're very large, of Justin Jefferson? Scott Bogman, we'll start with you on this one. Your thoughts on Jordan Addison going into week 6 here with this void of target share being offered to him? Is he ready to take it over, and can he be more than he's been so far in 2023?
How the turntables, Welsh. Now I get to talk about your guy, Jordan Addison.
This would have been my guy. By the way, I just want to point out, this would have been the player I would have talked about.
You mean how the tables have turned, not the turntables.
That's the joke.
You're not a DJ.
Yeah, it's from The Office, Joe.
I only recognize the BBC Office with Ricky Gervais. All other offices are not important.
The worst one?
There you go. Yeah. And I can feel the hatred in the YouTube comments. I can bring it. I don't care. I don't care.
I need the translations for the English. I need the subtitles to hear be able to tell what they're saying. And
you want the metric system too? You want to do that?
Guess you just don't like freedom, huh, Joe?
Well, Jordan Addison is 27 centimeters below Calvin Ridley this week.
Look, Jordan Addison is ready to step up. And not only is Jordan Addison ready to step up, KJ Osborn is not. KJ Osborn has not looked good so far this year. I've watched a lot of Vikings football for whatever reason this season, and I've seen KJ Osborn run the wrong route, step out of bounds on a play, drop balls. He's just not been very good. Addison is ready to step up into stardom. This is Biletnikoff Award winner coming out of college at USC. He made Kenny Pickett a lot of money, obviously. He is a very, very good wide receiver. He is always open, and he's going to be the next big thing here in this offense because they are going to not slow down the pass. They should give the ball more to Alexander Mattison and Cam Akers and run the ball more. They're not going to do it. O'Connell wants to pass the ball 50 times a game. They're going to stay in that range. It's what they do. Probably going to keep getting blown out. Kirk Cousins is either going to get traded or hurt before the end of the season because he keeps getting hit, but they are not going to stop passing the football. It is what this offense is designed to do.
Welsh,
so Addison is going to see a ton of targets.
Welsh, it's a good matchup against the Bears.
Yeah.
He's coming off a season high of 9 targets. He caught 6 of them for 64 yards. His second highest yardage total of the year. Also his 3rd touchdown. So he's had a nose for the end zone. That's been the thing that's kind of kept Addison ready. So are you where Bogman is in terms of your high expectations for Addison to produce this week against the Bears?
Yeah, I'm probably higher. Again, I would have picked him into the top 20 tier had he been in there, because I have him at 15 this week. The Bears, 10th most fantasy points given up to wide receivers, 6th most receiving yards. Even though he had that dud in there, Addison did, he's 18 targets over his last 3 games. And this is one of my most favorite here. There's 2 parts to it. So Addison has been working similar to Jefferson, because I think a lot's been made about how KJ Osborn plays more out of the slot. Jefferson was 68% out wide, 31% slot. And we've seen Addison work 75% wide, 24% slot. So I think he can just jump right, even though I know they're saying that Osborn will go into the Jefferson role. Addison can play that. But this is my favorite one. Passer rating when targeted. A 120 passer rating goes to Kirk Cousins when he targets Addison. You want to know what that is with KJ Osborn?
12.
66. Half. 66 passer rating Kirk Cousins has when targeting KJ Osborn. KJ Osborn. I love Jordan Addison. I got him. I'm trying to get him to a wide receiver 1 right now, but I've got him at 15, way inside the top 20. He is a favorite of mine, and I'm waiting for the props to drop because I'm going to unload on him.
I have to say, in this grouping of this B tier where he's at, I think you can make a case for him to be at the very top of it for sure, without a doubt this week, especially against the Bears. Moving on to the B- tier here, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett, Jakobi Meyers of the Las Vegas Raiders, then Gabe Davis of Buffalo, and Jerry Jeudy of the defunct Denver Broncos. I want to highlight Jakobi Meyers for a moment. And the reason is he's had 3 of the 4 games he's played this year. Obviously, he had that concussion. He missed week 2 against Buffalo. But Welsh, he has had double-digit targets in 3 of the 4 games he's played. The only one he didn't was against the Chargers in week 4. Last week, he had 21.
As the Aiden O'Connell game.
Yeah, look, and exactly. And that's the Aiden O'Connell game. Great point by Bogman there. So I'm not looking for revenge narratives here or anything like that because the New England Patriots are coming into town. I'm looking for fantasy points. And I'm looking at Jakobi Meyers, who's already got 3 touchdowns this year, which I'm pretty sure is more than he had his entire career as a New England Patriot because they just refused to use him as much as they should have. But this feels like a matchup against the Pats, who have completely, they've lost Judon. They don't have the pass rush. They have lost all the corners there for the most part. The defensive backfield has been an absolute just obliterated mess in terms of injuries. Meyers feels like a really good start this week. Do you agree, Welsh? And do you think maybe the ECR has him too low potentially as wide receiver 29?
What I was just about to say, what was that number
He's at
again?
29 right now, which again, he's starting, but I feel like he is more of a mid to high wide receiver 2 this week in terms of PPR, whereas they're telling him, well, he's more of a wide receiver 3. I just don't see him like that this week.
Okay, yeah, how you're saying, like, there's 2 different ways that we're being said. I think he's safe. I love the revenge game narrative, whatever anybody else says about that stuff. I'm all about that. I think Garoppolo is going to get him those targets. 3 of the 4 games he's played in, he's had double-digit targets. It was only the one against the Chargers where he had 4. Otherwise, it's been 10, 10, and 12. I think you're going to get another 8 to 10 targets. I think you're going to get 6 to 8 catches. But the guy doesn't blow out the yards, and he has had sandwich touchdowns, 1 this week, 2 in the very first week. I think you're looking at like 6 catches, 75 yards, touchdown is on the table. I think he's safe. So I think he's higher than the 29, but I don't think he's this exceptionally awesome guy that I have to, oh my gosh, we have to start Jakobi Meyers. I just don't think the upside exists in there. Now, if they are moving the ball and they're able to get into the red zone, I do think he's going to get targets. That's what I think is exciting about that. I think this pace of this game could also get slowed down because the offense of the Patriots is not great, and I think there might just be a lot of running, and that might get the pace out of the passing.
Game. Nobody wants to watch this.
Nobody wants to watch it, but that's how a lot of Patriots games are. They're not watchable.
Yeah.
So I just don't know
especially
if the
for
volume...
Patriot fans like me and Erickson.
Yeah, it's got to be brutal for you. You got to enjoy fantasy because you can't enjoy your normal football.
We've had a good 20-year run. It was okay.
Yeah, I think you guys would be all right.
24 to 28 type of guy, so I think he should be a little bit higher. He's very, very safe. I just don't think there's insane upside here. 675 and a score would make sense.
Boggs, I think there's more upside than people realize with Meyers. Do you agree with Welsh or do you agree with me?
So I think I agree with Welsh here. The reason I say that
answer.
Yeah. I'm off the show now, guys. See ya. No, I think that this is the wide receivers this week are the opposite of the running backs. We just, record the running back show, and we were talking about how it's just not very trustable. There's not a lot of guys that you want to start out of the running back pool this week with bye weeks and injuries and stuff like that. I think it's completely the opposite on the wide receiver side. I feel like it is depthy with wide receivers this week. I think you can trust a lot of guys down to like wide receiver 40 here. So I think there's just a big group of wide receivers that are very startable. I think you're going to see a lot of flex spots play out of the wide receivers this week instead of the running backs, because the running backs are banged up and hurt and gross, and these are all sexy wide receivers we want to see catch the ball. And I think Jakobi Meyers fits into that group perfectly. I mean, you said his ECR is what this week again?
29, wide receiver 29.
29. So 29, I mean, I have him a little bit lower than that because, I have like Zay Flowers and Adam Thielen look good and Nico Collins. Like, there are just a bunch of guys in this group that I feel like if you put them against Myers, you say, all right, I mean, Myers is fine, but do I really want him that much more than I want Lockett or DeAndre Hopkins? I don't think so. I think he fits in that group. I think there's a lot of upside with him, of course, but I also think this is an ugly game that's going to see a lot.
Joe, what do you think that, what is that upside? Can you, you know how it was like 675? Like
the Patriots offense is so bad. The Patriots defense is so bad, the Patriots offense is so bad that I feel like, and this is why I bet them so hard last week, I teased up that New Orleans Saints number last week, and I talked about it on Betting Pros, where I moved it to 3.5 because it was practically a pick, and I was like, this is comfortable 3.5. I should have gone to 30. I could have gone there. Now it was going to be the same kind of blowout, but I see the Patriots as being bottomed out here. It just physically bottomed out. I think preparation wise, you watch them play, I think they've just they're starting to quit. And that's not something you see. But
this is a get-right game against the Raiders. You know what? It could be.
You know what? But again, if people say, well, it's at home, New Orleans is a good defense, but you should be competitive. They weren't even competitive in that game. And I'm looking here in Vegas,
Mac Jones
and the Raiders
sucks.
are coming off a big Monday Night Football victory. Maybe they shouldn't have had it, but they did. And I think that the Raiders are going to go out there, and I'm going to think they're going to put up points. And I don't think they're going to take their foot off the gas on the Patriots either. I don't think McDaniels will. I don't think Garoppolo will. And I don't think Myers will or Adams. So I think.
What do you think is like 8 catches, 120?
I think he's got the upside to be a top 20 guy this week, if not break that top 20.
Okay.
That's where I think he is. And again, he's starting anyway, as you all said, he's safe, but not to spend too much time on
I think he is
Myers.
too, but I think there's a lot of guys like that this week at wide receiver.
But I look at that grouping there, and look, Gabe Davis has great games and then bust games. Jerry Jeudy, I feel way better about Jakobi Myers than I do. And frankly, Hopkins, watching Ryan Tannehill play quarterback last week, he looked like he was throwing slow pitch softball out there. He had nothing.
Okay, but you put him in the group ahead of this, Joe.
I put him in the group ahead of this. I think he's in that B tier, not B minus. That's all.
Sure, and that's fine. But then in that group, him and Wilson, okay. Him and Zay Flowers, I think I want Zay. Him and Nico, I think I want Nico.
I want Myers over Wilson. I mean, I have zero faith. Sorry, Jet fans, just can't get there. A great win. And I won money on it last week. I had the Jets on the money line. Let's go. By the way, download the Betting Pros app. Have some fun with us. Go follow Welsh on there too. He's crushing it. And check out Bogman's college football show. See, I did all the plugs at one time.
Look at that. Look at you.
Let's get the C+ tier. Cortland Sutton, Drake London, Michael Thomas, and Tutu Atwell. So Cooper Kupp came back. He did get a pretty close to Cooper Kupp workload. You Puka Nacua lovers out there like me, he was still very good. Tutu Atwell was the guy, though, that kind of fell off a little bit. Now, he had the touchdown that saved his day, but without that touchdown, he would have had 3 PPR points yesterday. So that would have been a bad look for Tutu Atwell starting. So he did save the day. The matchup is good against Arizona. But Welsh, I'm looking at Tutu Atwell, and I feel like this is a ranking that almost feels like it's living in the past and not what the Rams offense is going to be moving forward. He was certainly useful for a time, but do you think he's useful in week 6?
I don't. I really don't. Especially when I look at the names that are around him, the names that are behind him.
Behind him names. We'll get to that in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, it won't ruin them. Okay, but literally the next 3 names that are under him on the consensus ranks, I would rather have over Tutu Atwell. I've made excuses why I thought Puka Nacua could continue to be the guy, because they're going to litter targets on both sides of the ball, but there can't be 3. There's not going to be 3. You're going to get Kupp having between 12 and 15 targets a game. If that goes to Nacua getting somewhere between 8 and 10 or 8 and 12, plus Higbee being involved, throwing out of the backfield, they like to do the covering. what all can they do? And Tutu just had to be the guy that was going to lose the most value because he was looking really good. He was looking like a great pickup.
Oh, hey, well, he was averaging 8.5, actually almost 9 targets a game up until last week.
Yeah. The only way that Tutu Atwell makes this worthwhile is beating the expectation of anybody actually starting him. There's no way you're going to go in and be like, oh yeah, there's a guy that's going to get like 9 targets and blah, blah. No, he's probably between 3 and 5 targets. The touchdown, we wouldn't even be talking about him if he had not scored a touchdown here. Yes, it's a great matchup with the Cardinals. Yes, they could be up by 30, and then he's going to be the guy that's going to come in. You get Cooper Kupp off the field. But no, I'm not going to take the third wide receiver on a team where you can guarantee 25 targets to 2 wide receivers every single game. There are much better options with much higher upside. I don't want to be like he's not good. He's fine, but he's not a top 45 wide receiver.
Tutu Atwell right now is looking like, wide receiver 39. I'm looking at the ECR right now. Again, that's that fringe flex play kind of area. But Boggs, I don't even know if it's that. Like, I am very concerned about Kupp and Puka Nacua just being so good that Tutu really just kind of falls by the wayside. Are you?
Yeah, and there is, I guess, a little silver lining for Tutu. The fact that he wasn't taken off the field is nice. He had 89% snap share last week, 40 routes run, which is actually the second most routes he's run in a game so far this season. But Welsh just said it all. I mean, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are so good, you have to get them the football. Tutu is an afterthought in this offense. He's at best the 4th option behind those 2 wide receivers and Kyren. I'd put Higbee ahead of him in the passing game as well. So he goes down as the 5th option, the 5th really read or look on most plays. So he's just not going to be viable unless there's an injury or unless he just has a crazy matchup and he's wide open every single time. So he'll have a couple of those games this year moving forward. But if everybody's healthy, Puka's just too low on the totem pole to get real looks and targets and catches. So
just like Sky Moore.
He's going to be touchdown dependent.
Tutu.
That's
Tutu,
what he
not
is.
Puka is going to be down there.
Yeah, my bad. No. Tutu. Yeah, I mean, he...
don't ever confuse your Tutus and your Pukas. You don't want to do that.
I try not to. You can get in trouble with that.
Situation on a Friday night.
Yeah,
it's no good.
Get a bad rash. But
when
I'll just point out, Tutu is kind of like a Sky Moore, where it's like, oh, you get 3 or 4 targets, maybe you get a touchdown
dependent.
But there are target monster where Mahomes turns like 4 other players into one big target monster. The Rams are your Kelsey is Kupp, your other 4 Chiefs players are Puka, and then it's like, okay, you're going to get 3 or 4 targets, maybe you hit it, but Sky Moore,
like
Tutu should be sitting in the same
offense
spot.
to me a little bit. Like, it's Smith and it's Brown. Like, that's it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And
it's a funnel system.
You get a little Goddard in there once in a while, but other than that, that's kind of what it is right now. The C tier here, some interesting names: Joshua Palmer, Rashee Rice, Tyler Boyd, then Elijah Moore, Josh Downs, who I know a lot of people are excited about, KJ Osborn, Tank Dell, Jahan Dotson, and Josh Reynolds. Now, Boggs, we'll start with you on this one because I know a lot of people did go to the waiver wire and picked up KJ Osborn this week. So it is a good matchup in theory against the Bears. Where do you have him in your ranks compared to the ECR right now? Because I know the ECR, when you're looking at KJ Osborn, is in that lower range. It's wide receiver 44. So do you have him as somebody that you can start and as a flex potentially this week because of the matchup, or are you just out because of some of the numbers you talked about earlier in that conversation about Addison?
I have him so much higher. I'm at 42. So, yeah, I'm not very high on KJ Osborn. And sure, he's going to have higher volume or whatever, but he's 83 out of 85 wide receivers in PFF receiving grade. He's 77 out of 85 in yards per route run, which once again, I said is one of my favorite metrics that kind of blends everything together for a receiving option. He's terrible in that. And he has 0 missed tackles forced this season. So when he gets the ball in his hands, he is tackled right there where he is stopped because he's making absolutely nobody miss. He's just not playing his best football right now. I don't know if there's, I think he's better than this. I think he can be better than this, but he isn't. So the only positive trending in his direction right now is the fact that he's filling in for Jefferson. He's getting those looks, which is first look for Cousins on reads a lot. But like Welsh said, Jordan Addison is not going to be contained by KJ Osborn. He is going to swiftly become the number one wide receiver in this offense with Justin Jefferson down. And we're going to see him become the guy and Osborn become really the third option because TJ Hawkinson is going to be higher. And I think they're going to throw the ball to the running backs a little bit more. So I think Osborn, maybe this week, next week, he's, 7-8 targets, something like that. But after that, they're just going to realize there's way better options on this team than him, and he's just not playing good football right now.
That makes sense to me. Welsh, again, do you sort of echo those same sentiments there from Bogman?
Yeah, pretty much. I would rather him than Tutu Atwell, and I have him higher than Tutu Atwell.
That I agree with. And
by
yet
3
you
spots.
look at the yeah, but if you look at the ECR, it's more than 3 spots. It's much more. So that's
like
really
7
interesting.
spot difference.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots here between them. So that is a big, vast cavern where I would say, give me the shot at KJ Osborn against the Bears over Tutu Atwell, who's now been, I hate to say it, but phased out, Welsh.
Yeah, and I don't love KJ. I told you 66% quarterback rating when Kirk Cousins looks to him. But if you don't count the Carolina game, Kirk Cousins has had at least 44 pass attempts in all 4 or 5 games. So outside of Carolina, 4 or 5 games, he's had 44 plus pass attempts. KJ Osborn had 9 last. He's going to play in the slot. The coverage might be different for some of these wide receivers now that you're not double covering and looking at Justin Jefferson the whole time. And that might open up some opportunities if Osborn is playing out of the slot for him to get targets. I think he's just capped. I think it's like he could get 8 targets. He could catch 6 balls, but I think it's like 60 yards. I think the big plays are going to be out of Addison. Rather him than Tutu Atwell. I have him a tiny bit higher, but he's a flex play at best.
KJ Osborn is cap. According to Welsh,
cap.
he's cap.
There you go.
No cap.
That's no cap, everybody. See, I'm in there with the kids. I know what's happening. I'm cool.
You're rizzing them up, buddy.
Right. Also, Josh Downs in this group. More on him later in the show. We're going to get to Josh Downs because I know that's another big hot button guy this week. We're going to talk about him in the Would You Rather segment. So make sure you stay along with us for that. Moving on in this next grouping into C-, Robert Woods, then Curtis Samuel, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Trending towards playing this week. Things seem to be going in the right direction. Michael Wilson, who's been a splash player here for the Arizona Cardinals. Then Wan'Dale Robinson, Rashid Shaheed, who we're kind of like waiting for Shaheed to really show. He's been like a fantasy darling in the community, but hasn't really paid dividends yet. DJ Chark. And then at the end of C- and beginning of D+, you have 2 rookie wide receivers who were drafted in the first round coming out of the bye, where typically you see these guys who are rookies start to get it a little bit more. You have Jaxon Smith-Njigba, the last guy at C-, and then at the D+ tier, you have Quentin Johnston. Now, Boggs, you're Mr. College Football, so I'm going to start with you on this one too. JSN, Quentin Johnston. Certainly you would think that Quentin Johnston might have a bigger target share opportunity with the injury to Mike Williams this season. Is this the moment where you start to see that from QJ in this week here with the Chargers coming against that Dallas Cowboy defense that's been reeling lately? Or do you think Jaxon Smith-Njigba could be that guy here starting to get more acclimated into his offense? Or is it both or neither?
Neither for me.
That was the depressing answer. I was hoping you wouldn't say that.
It's also the true answer. I mean, look, in Seattle, you have Walker, you have Charbonnet, you have Metcalf, you have Lockett. That is the first 4 up. JSN is 5th, and they've been designing plays for him, but they're all short passes. He's 82nd out of 85 wide receivers in ADOT. Rondale Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney are the 3 guys with a lower ADOT than him, JSN. And, which means he's good in yak. They're designing these plays behind the line of scrimmage for him, and he gets some yards after the catch, which is great. But I don't think that there's enough. There's not enough footballs to go around to make JSN a viable option. I think maybe in LA there will be because they tend to pass the ball a little bit more. But I think Josh Palmer has a leg up over Quentin Johnston right now, and Quentin Johnston has dropped some footballs as well, and just has these guys aren't playing their best football. They are way way better than what we've seen. And at some point, we will see the breakout. Joe, you make a great point. They're both coming off a bye. Let's design a couple more plays.
Right.
Let's get some stuff involved. Maybe one of them break through, but I think they're both just the 4th to 5th option on their teams right now. So unless an injury happens, it seems like they're just a little buried in terms of pecking order. So I'm just not excited about them.
Bogman threw a bunch of cold water on the expectations and hope that JSN and QJ could come out of this bye as a little bit more useful in their respective offenses. Welsh, if you had to put your money on one of those two guys to be effective in the next few weeks, or even let's say this week in week 6, which of the two is it?
All right, so this is tough because I think the more talented player is Jaxon Smith-Njigba, and I think long-term he's the guy that I really like.
Same.
I just think it's so hard for him to break through as a big top wide receiver when you have DK Metcalf and you have Tyler Lockett on that team. Plus you have a pretty good running game in Ken Walker, and I think Zach Charbonnet might be a flex option to play this week. So I'm going to go with Quentin Johnston because he did fit the best mold of that Mike Williams role where you can then move these guys around. You can get Josh Palmer back into his original spot. Keenan Allen's going. There's a lot of mouths to feed there as well. I guess I'm going to go with him because I can see the path where he can be the number 2 wide receiver on that team. I don't see that path in Seattle changing. I actually think Jaxon Smith-Njigba could be very reminiscent of like the Jamison Williams times we saw last year where it could be 4 catches, but it breaks for 100 and a score. Like he can break a big play. I think Quentin Johnston could be a player we see 6 to 8 targets per week in the red zone. They try to throw him up for him as they're spreading the ball around. So I actually would go with Quentin Johnston in more of the short term that they get him involved. But the long-term dynasty perspective, I would rather have Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
It's fascinating that JSN and QJ are ahead of Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup in that D+ tier. Like I would think that the Dallas guys coming off that bad loss against the Chargers this week, you would think that those guys would be higher in the rankings, but right now they're not. Kendrick Bourne and Sky Moore finish out the D+ tier. And then the D tier here, you have Marvin Mims, Darnell Mooney, Devontae Parker, Darius Slayton, Jonathan Mingo, and T. Higgins, who is trending probably not towards playing either. Mims is another interesting one here too, because this is another rookie where I think all of us are sort of pounding the table for something to change here with the Denver Broncos. When he's gotten some opportunities, Mims has looked good. The problem is, Welsh, he's not getting a lot of opportunities, not getting nearly enough. I know we're all holding out hope that maybe, Jerry Jeudy could get traded here at the deadline in a few weeks. Maybe that opens a path. But in week 6, is Mims a guy that is startable for you in any fashion, or he's just not on the field enough?
Nope. I can't. How could you do it? Like, I might rather Tutu Atwell. I mean, I won't because the Denver Broncos are so bad and they can just get back on offense because teams need 2 plays to score a touchdown and they get back out there. But in all of that, Marvin Mims has 12 targets on the year. Not in a game, on the year.
Not the game.
Alvin Kamara had more catches in week 4 than Marvin Mims has targets on the season. We know he's explosive, but Russell stinks. This team stinks. You got Jeudy. They've got Sutton. I don't see where that's going to change, and they're not going to change a quarterback. I just don't trust any of it. Why would I bet on the 3rd wide receiver who is averaging 2.5 targets per game as anything I would start? I'd rather KJ Osborn. I'd rather Tutu Atwell. I'd rather 50 other players than him. If Marvin Mims does break out and they make the change, awesome. Why would you go week in and week out trying to predict when that's going to happen? Play it after the fact. If you think it's coming, pick him up, put him on your bench. There's no reason I'm talking about starting Marvin Mims right now outside of, hey, it was cool, kick return touchdown. I don't care. Denver Broncos stink. You can't do it.
Well, I mean, in the essence of trying to get something to happen here, I mean, Russell Wilson is QB8, so he might be struggling in real life, but in fantasy, he's putting up points. Boggs, with the lackluster Denver Broncos 2023 season here going horribly wrong, they play Kansas City in the short week. Do you try to throw something different out there and gives Mims a little bit more action potentially and try to shake things up?
I think he should. He's first in yards per reception among wide receivers with at least 10 targets. He's 6th in yak per reception. He's 1st in yards per route run among wide receivers with 10 targets. He's 2nd in ADOT, 6th in passer rating when targeted. He is awesome. Let's only give him 12 routes, though. I mean, he's not going to run. Sean Payton doesn't like him. If you're a good player, Sean Payton wants you on the bench, apparently, and not playing. So I think he's better than any wide receiver on the Broncos right now. And I'm a Courtland Sutton guy. I love Courtland Sutton. Mims is better than him. He's better right now than Jerry Jeudy as well. He's not as complete. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and throw a block, so I understand why he's not on the field as much. He is inexperienced, but you got to get this guy on the field. He's an explosive playmaker. You shouldn't be second in ADOT. Design a screenplay for him. Run a reverse with him. Put him in the backfield. Do something with this guy to spark this offense, because it is lackluster. They're living on big plays. They're getting big plays, but then those guys are taken immediately off the field, and it's back to this slow pace crap. So
246 receiving yards, 146 of those on 3 receptions from Marvin Mims. His 3 longest
big
receptions.
Plays.
It's crazy. He should be more involved, but he's not.
All right, let's go to a little would you rather. I'm going to take 2 wide receivers that are very close to each other, and I'm going to change this up on you a little bit. I promised some Josh Downs stuff, so we are going to hit Josh Downs here. Josh Downs against Jacksonville, or do you want to play Rashee Rice against the Denver Broncos this week, Boggs? Who would you rather?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. Give me Rashee Rice. I think it's more likely for him to get into the end zone, although I do really like what Josh Downs has been doing. But he is third still in terms of snap percentage among wide receivers for the Colts. It's still Pittman, Pierce, and then Downs. Gardner Minshew has shown that he likes Josh Downs a lot, but I think Rashee Rice, even though smaller snap percentage, probably fewer targets also, but more likely to get in the end zone because they're drawing up a bunch of plays, and the Chiefs are going to spend a lot of time in the red zone on Thursday.
Welsh, how about for you? Rice or Downs? I know Downs is a very trendy pick this week.
Yeah, well, then I guess I'm trendy because I'm going to go with Josh Downs. 21 targets over the last 3 games. I like Rashee Rice. I think he's a good touchdown option. I think he's a red zone touchdown option from Patrick Mahomes at all times. I'm actually higher on him this week, but I like Josh Downs. I like this matchup. I like them to be throwing the ball. Hopefully play action can be set up a little bit more with both Moss and Taylor out there. There's not a back that's going to come in that changes play action. And like you said, Gardner Minshew likes him. He's going to be slinging it. The targets are there. He caught all 6 of his targets last week. Give me Josh Downs.
All right, let's go a little deeper here. Wan'Dale Robinson against the Buffalo Bills, who are depleted on defense and probably playing from behind, or Rashid Shaheed against the Houston Texans. Welsh, who would you rather play?
Oh, my God.
And no, you can't pass. No, you can't. You got to pick one.
I want to say like maybe Wan'Dale and
that's what I was leaning towards
for the receptions.
I'm going with Wan'Dale as well.
Yeah, I think I'll go with Wan'Dale. I mean, I think they stink. The whole team stinks. Rashid Shaheed is fine, but it's another big play. I'm not. Some people are into the guy that can go big play options. This guy, one play, he can go for 60 and whatnot. Maybe I'm just a little bit more boring. So I'll rather take the volume of the receptions. Like, I just don't think Shaheed is going to be involved enough that it's going to get me super excited that he's going to have that opportunity. Same thing with Mims. I'd rather take the guy like Wan'Dale, short passes, because the Giants can't throw deep. They're going to just throw little short dink and dunks. If Saquon is active, I think that makes the offense a little bit more explosive and defenses have to spread out. So I guess I will go with Wan'Dale. I don't like either one of these, though.
All right, Boggs. I know you might not like either one, but you got to pick one. Wan'Dale Robinson or Shaheed.
Yeah, I don't want either one of them. Shaheed is my guy I would take. Look, I'd rather bank on a 50-yard touchdown from Rashid Shaheed because I think he's more likely to get that than Wan'Dale Robinson is to have 10 targets, which is what he would need to get that touchdown, and 50 yards worth. So Tyrod Taylor might be the quarterback for the Giants as well. It's just ugly for the Giants right now. I'm not going to touch any part of that offense, including Saquon. I have to start Saquon in some spots if he's going to play, but I don't want to. It's going to be 10 men in the box. They can't throw the football down the field. They get no Mississippis for the quarterback to throw the football. Daniel Jones is going to get murdered by the end of the season, but at least he'll get, they're going to be loading him up on a gurney, and Brian Daboll's going to be screaming at him as he goes into the ambulance. Gosh, it is just absurd. absurd with what is happening with the Giants.
Bills. They'll put him on all the 20s that he's made.
Well, yeah.
That's right. He'll go to the grave rich after he gets killed by this offensive line here. But
it's not been good.
Yeah, I have zero trust in the Giants at all. I'd rather take that deep hit on Rashid Shaheed, but you know what? Start Marvin Mims over both of them.
Okay, there you go. You also have that Who Should I Start tool in My Playbook, everybody, if you need some extra help there. So download My Playbook, go to fantasypros.com/myplaybook, or just download the app. Use the Who Should I Start tool. Try to figure out where the experts are and where you want to make your decisions. There's also decisions to be made when it comes to flexing players, too. So I'm going to throw a couple names at you guys. Pick one. You don't have to give me too much of a reason because we've already talked about a lot of these guys here. Tyler Algier, Josh Downs, or Gus Edwards. You got one spot, Bogman. Who's starting?
Give it to me one more time.
Tyler Algier, Josh Downs, and Gus Edwards.
Give me the Gus Bus. Justice Hill fumbled last week. I think he's in the doghouse a little bit. It's still going to be close to a split, but I think it's more on the Gus Bus side. So give me Gus Edwards.
I'm going to go Gus Bus too.
Okay, let's go to KJ Osborn, Jahan Dotson, or Justice Hill, the aforementioned Welsh. Who would you rather start between those three?
Can you imagine starting Jahan Dotson? Can you imagine? No, absolutely not. I'll go with KJ Osborn simply for the volume of what I mentioned before. Lots of balls being thrown. You might see Kirk Cousins early on try to pepper Osborn a little bit. Half PPR, you'll still get those points. There's no chance I would start Jahan Dotson until Sam Howell actually looks his way. I don't even know who the other person depressing. You said was. Justice Hill. Nope, no thanks. KJ Osborn.
All right, Bob.
I mean, Dotson is so much better than everybody else.
Give me
it's
a
not
break.
talent. It's usually he's wide receiver
Osborn,
63
though.
right now.
Osborn's the start because he's going to be the number one this week, and they throw the ball 50 times. Jekyll and Howell. You have no idea what you're getting from Sam Howell.
You do know what you're getting from Sam Howell. Nothing to Jahan Dotson.
It might. I bet you. Just because you said that, it's going to be 10 targets for him this week.
Good. Then I started it up. Rev it up. Fire it up.
There you go. We started it all here. Don't forget, make sure you drop a comment below. We love to hear from you here. Subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel and ring that bell till it goes ding. And again, use My Playbook to make sure you get all of the best possible guys into your lineup. Sync all your teams and all your leagues today. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Welsh and Bogman, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.